The Beretta Model 76 22 target pistol. Let's check it out. Beretta has been in business for over 500 years and is the oldest firearm manufacturer still in existence. They've made a lot of really high quality firearms, not only handguns but rifles and also shotguns. Today we're going to take a look at the Beretta Model 76. Now this is a gun that's been imported. These were made from 71 till 1985, so this is a vintage piece. But it's got those classic Beretta lines to it. It's a very elegant looking handgun. Very reliable and very accurate. Classic Firearms got a hold of a lot of these. They brought them in from Italy and they're offering for sale. And so when I saw them, I got in touch with Classic. I said, Ben, I'd really love to get a hold of one of those 76s. And I want to thank Classic Firearms for sending this pistol for this test and evaluation. The Beretta Model 76 target pistol. These are C&R eligible, you know, if you're a C&R dealer. 22 long rifle. Got your magazine release right here on the grip. Pull it down, 10-round magazine. Check the chamber to make sure the gun is unloaded, and it is. This is a single action pistol. It is a blowback design, and this really is a inspiration from the Beretta Model 70, and I've got a 70 right here. This is in 380 ACP. But in fact, the same grips or very similar grips were on this one, but I really like the wood for this and would really love the wood for these. These do come with a wood grip, but also this synthetic type grip. One thing about it, it does have a finger rest right here. This is designed as a target pistol, so you've got a great place to rest your thumb. And then of course you've got a little bit of checkering, serrations on the back of the grip itself, and then this front smooth strap. But it's just a really nice feeling handgun. I mean, it gives you a good solid purchase, and it was designed again as a target pistol, so it's gonna, they really wanted ergonomics. The magazine does have a little bit of a finger rest on here, which was typical for a lot of Beretta pistols of this time period. It has a little bit of a place here that you can pull down when you're loading. You got to have a little fingernail to get a hold of that, to be honest with you. But you can load it straight from the top. But it does have the open design. It's all metal. These magazines are a little pricey. I saw them on Gunbroker. They can run anywhere from $35 to $50. You know, just according, and you can find them. That's one of the great things about these. There were so many of these made that a lot of times parts are available and around. It has a nice blued finish. I mean, it is impeccable. And that may just be this particular sample. They're not necessarily all going to be like this, but from what Classic was showing, they have a lot of fine pistols. The one thing about the barrel shroud right here is that it is a cast aluminum, and it almost has like a powder coat finish on it. So it's got a definite contrast between the matte finish and then you have the nice blued finish here. You have your takedown lever right here, and we'll look at that in a minute. And then also we have our slide stop right here, which the slide actually runs under the shroud and under the sights. It has nice little aggressive serrations, which makes it easy to pull. One thing about this, and I'll show it while I've got it open, is you have your sight radius is on the top strap. So you're going to continue to have a long sight radius, which is preferable for a target pistol. The sights are adjustable, and there's a little blade here for windage. It came with 3 separate options for a front sight. There's a little bolt here at the front, little screw you can unattach, you can take that off. And then it has serrations all along the top to cut off glare. Now, you'll see this little rib right here. This is actually a scope mount. and it takes a certain kind of rings, but you can actually put a scope mount. In fact, I have a photo right here of one that was used in a movie this way. But so you can put optics if you can find the rings. And too bad you can't put a weapons light here on the front. And like all Berettas, very smooth action. Now when this one came in, it had a lot of lube on it. I mean, in fact, I'd cleaned it quite a bit after I shot it. I like to take guns out and shoot them. Once I check the bore to make sure that it's clean, you know, I like to take them out and just shoot. And I'll tell you, we had a lot of fun with this one. Have a frame safety right here, and then of course your magazine release is right here with Beretta made in Italy right here. Now you also have like a beaver tail, kind of brings it up. It keeps from slide bite because you can see pretty low bore axis, but then you have your sights that come up higher. But it just rides really close. So if you've got bigger hands, you should be okay, but you want to be careful. The barrel is 5.75 inches in length. And again, it does have this barrel shroud that does give it a little bit of added weight. And we're going to disassemble this. I'm going to show you how to pull this off. It's actually fairly easy to disassemble. And weight on the Model 76, 2 pounds, 0.6 ounces. Now one thing I want to point out with the grips come down, you'll see a nice little cutout, and the frame actually ends way up here. So the grips extend pretty much down below the frame of the pistol. And that has everything to do with this large little piece right here on your magazine. So you're not going to be able to replace those with standard Model 70 grips because it extends down. But if you look here with the Model 70, the frames are pretty much the same size. It does have the Commander hammer, and again, guys, I mean, it is very inspired by the Model 70s, you can see. I mean, all the controls, takedown features, everything. And the 70 series on the Berettas were very popular. I mean, there's so many. And then the 80 series. I'm a big fan of these older Berettas, and for that matter, the newer Berettas. And speaking of which, I just did a review on the Beretta M922, and this is more of the modern style, but was heavily inspired by the original Model 70 series. And one of the biggest differences between these two pistols, we're going to go ahead and make sure the gun is unloaded, is that the Beretta M922 is a double action. So that means when we pull the trigger, it actuates the hammer and it fires. And then subsequent shots, the hammer's back. With a single action pistol, it doesn't actuate the hammer when you pull the trigger. And so the hammer actually, because the slide comes back, you have to rack it, and now it's in firing position. But with any rimfire cartridge, it's not wise to dry fire it too often. So we're going to put in a snap cap. We're going to check out the trigger pull. We'll bring the hammer back. Just a little take up. Man, that is a really nice, crisp break. I mean, it's almost like glass. We're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 2 pounds, 0.8 ounces. 2 pounds, 1.1 ounce. Man, this trigger is slick. We're going to be shooting some CCI mini mags, and also I brought down some Federal Premium. This is Hunter Match. There's a little catch right here. You just pull down. It's kind of small, but you just feed them in one at a time. And typical, it holds 10 rounds. Now, one of the things about a surplus firearm, especially when they've been stored for a long time, you know, you don't know the condition, you don't know the quality, you don't really know if it's going to be reliable or not. And so taking this out in 22 rimfire, which has a tendency not to be the most reliable on top of that, I was really pleasantly surprised that we had no malfunctions whatsoever. These guns have been really well cared for and been stored properly. And this particular model, as we've been showing, I mean, is just immaculate. I mean, it's almost like a brand new pistol. But they just ran, even though there was a lot of lube on it, which I ended up getting after doing the shooting portion of the video. This is just a really smooth shooting gun. There's just not any recoil to it. I mean, it's 22, and yet you have this weighted shroud at the front that really helps to stabilize the handgun. It just makes the recoil go away. One of the things I do love about taking a 22 out is the low recoil, the low muzzle flash, no muzzle rise, cheap to shoot. I mean, I think that everyone should have at least one 22 in their collection. And with the Target model, it just brings a whole nother experience. This is not something necessarily you would take out to go hunting, but you could. This is something though that you really want to take to the range and get some fine accuracy with. The grip on the pistol really fits well in your hand if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, this little finger rest right here doesn't impede your trigger finger to get to the trigger. So, you know, it kind of bows out and it makes it nice. So, you know, you can go either way with this, even though it was designed mainly for right-handed shooters. Sights, really easy to pick up, and they are made as target sights, so that's no surprise. The 10-round magazine obviously is pretty standard for most of your 22s, and so that's no big surprise. But overall, it was a lot of fun to take to the range, and because of the classic lines of this firearm, it really has something just to it that you're missing with a lot of your modern firearms. Now, disassembly of the Model 76. We're going to drop our magazine. Go ahead and rack our slide, make sure that the gun is unloaded. First thing, we have a little takedown lever right here, and you have to pull back on the slide. You got a little slot right here. So you want to take it when you get it into position and turn it back. And that covers up the red dot. And then we're going to let it go forward. You'll notice that there are two little set screws here, but don't touch those unless you want to remove the shroud from the barrel. Take the slide, pull it back, and repeatedly just let it hit the barrel shroud. You'll notice it'll start separating right here. And this is per Beretta instructions. Now once it gets to a certain place, I'm going to pull my slide back and lock it. We can start to pull this, wiggle it around a little bit. We still need to do it a little bit more. Now we're starting to see the recoil spring and guide rod. Here we go. Just got my finger right here on the trigger guard and I was able to pull it out. Now here is the upper assembly. You'll notice your recoil spring and guide rod here. We're going to go ahead and lift it up and pull it out. Then we'll take and just remove and separate the two pieces. Now here we have our barrel. And again, you can separate the barrel, but you have to remove these screws. I personally don't want to do that, but if you needed to, you could. Then you have your slide assembly. And then of course, very simple single action receiver. And that's all you need to do to field strip. The reassembly, you want to return your slide first. Then go ahead and enter in your recoil spring. You'll see that little hole that'll go in. And then rest it. There's a little notch right about there. We're going to pull this back over. Now I kind of had to pop it into place a little bit. There we go. Just push it until the pressure meets right here. We're going to bring back our slide. There we go. And we're seeing the red dot. That means it's ready. One thing you don't want to do is to have this to where it's going the other direction, because it can release the barrel and the barrel shroud, and so you want to make sure that is in place. Then we're going to lower our hammer and we're good to go. I mean, it's a little different, but honestly it's not that difficult. So guys, while we have a lot of modern technology that makes the manufacturing processes much easier, there are some advancements obviously to this design with modern designs. But you're getting a more quality hand-fitted piece typically on these older, especially the quality type firearms, whether it's Browning, Colt, Beretta, Smith & Wesson. I mean, they really put together a beautiful handgun, and even though they use the hand fitting more or less than your standard technological advances, this is a very viable firearm, great to take out to the range and really enjoy it. Plus you just have a piece of history. Now the price runs $479.99. You can pick out and hand select for a little bit more, and this is on the Classic Firearms website. These are coming in at really good to very good condition, and so you should get a really good quality firearm. These have been in storage for years, and so it is part of what it is. But guys, when these guns first come into the country, they're very reasonable, and then after a time the price goes up as they're bought up, and that happens over and over and over. I went on Gunbroker, I found a number of these, and they're going for $600, $700, $800. Great time to pick up a nice target pistol, Beretta quality, at a reasonable price. And again, I want to thank Classic Firearms for sending this for this test and evaluation. It has been a real pleasure. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. It is today we're going to take a look at the Beretta Model 76. I feel like the ergonomics, even though the grip, the ergonomics, okay, the grip on the price on the Beretta Model 96. Okay, now the price on the Beretta, this is the Beretta 96.